Hey, it's Daryl with DC Designs. Today we're going to start part 1 of the dual 18-inch infinite baffle setup in a 2016 Dodge Charger Hellcat, where we're going to go from this to this. Let's get started. This is the frame that my friend built for me while I was at work today. It's just a steel frame. It goes all the way around the perimeter. And basically what I've done is I've come in and drilled and put these inserts in here to connect to. I've done it in these 3 spots, and I've also done it up here in 3 locations. There, and there. What it is you use this little tool and these little riv nuts. This is the Astro 1442. Basically, it comes with all these different mandrels for different sizes. This is for a 1/4 20, and this is a 1/4 20 riv nut. Basically, that just screws on there, and then you take your drill, which this is a 9 millimeter, and you would drill your hole. And then once you've got your hole drilled, you would take your tool and insert that down in there, and then take and squeeze that together, and then you'd unscrew that right here. Move it. It gives you a place to put a screw in there, and it holds it together back here. See, it's in there pretty solid. It's not moving at all. And then what I'm going to do is come in and either double or triple layer the actual baffle, the speaker baffle, on top of this. And I'm going to actually have to cut the floor, the trim piece that comes in here and covers the floor. I'm going to cut it to fit once I get the MDF or birch, whatever I end up using. Once I get that put up there, I'm going to cut this bottom piece to fit back up against that, and then probably do a trim ring around that just to clean it up. Now that I've got the trim piece, the metal bolted in, like I said, I've got here. I actually put a couple extra, put one up there, we got one there, and then we got another one up front. What I'm doing now is making the panel, because what I'm going to do is cover the whole thing to seal up. But in order to do that, I'm making some trim pieces from the side that fit in that spot first. So I'm going to make one there. I'm going to make one for the other side. I'll probably make one for the top. And then I'll just trim it in the bottom on the regular piece. But to do this, I just took that piece and came in and kind of trimmed it in and got it pretty close, and then I used a pencil with a washer on it and took and ran down this side all the way down, and it gave me that profile. So now I've pretty much got a perfect profile of that side piece right there, and that's going to seal up pretty nice. But I'm also probably going to seal up all the way from there to where the seats meet. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do yet, but that's the plan. Some of this I'll just kind of have to just go along and just do stuff as I go. So this is where I've kind of got it trimmed, just kind of close. You can see there's still some gaps. But this is where I take the pencil with the washer on it, and you start at the top. It doesn't really matter where you start, but you take and you roll that down, that comes in, and that gives you that profile of this side piece here and down at the bottom. And I had to trim for some wires down all the way at the bottom, but I'll just have to come in and correct those on the new piece that I cut. Now that piece is cut, basically just use the jigsaw. And you can see that fits pretty tight all the way down. What I'm doing here, I put some of this tape on this piece and on this piece, and I'm going to push this over in the corner to where it matches up with the profile. And you want to make sure your pieces of wood don't have any dust on them when you put this tape on. This stuff really sticks good, but if there's dust on there, it will not stick. And I'm going to make sure that my perfect straight edge is up towards the top. So what I'll do is put this piece in, get this to where it matches the profile over there, make sure it's straight on the top, and then I will take and push that against the other one. And what that'll do, that'll hold those two pieces together. And then I'll do the same thing with the other side with the tape. I'll get this piece where I like it, then I'll take this side and make sure that my other side is still good and in place. Then I'll take that and stick it together. And you can probably see that there's a little bit sticking over up here from the piece behind, and there's some sticking up over here on the piece behind. What I can do with my flush trim router bit, I can actually just come in and flush trim that, and it'll give me that perfect straight edge all the way across. Now I've done the same thing for the bottom piece. Of course, I had to trim it out to fit the wires and some of these screws and the ribs in this, but basically I trimmed that to fit down in there, so that'll seal up the bottom pretty good. And obviously I left a little bit of a gap because I'll probably be wrapping some kind of material around this to be able to seal it up at the bottom. But I'm just going to do the same thing over here. Make sure those are clean. Put a couple pieces of tape on both sides. Now I've got a whole trim ring that goes all the way around. Completely seal up on the edges, the bottom, and I'll have that at the top. And I'll take this over to my router table and flush trim this in, and then that will be my template for one of my main pieces that's going to go in. Loosen this up to change the bits. So raise that up. Use the tools that go with the router to take the bit out. And I'm just going to use a 2-flute flush trim bit. It's got 2 bearings on top. I'll bring my trim piece up, and I will see where this needs to be adjusted to, so I can trim this down. Looks good right there. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to run along this straight edge and take this off on this side and the other side, and then I've got a little bit that I need to take off on the bottom edge here as well. What I'm doing now is actually transferring this onto a piece of 3/4 inch. Let's cut to the sides, over on the side, the bottom, and the top. Now I'm actually going to duplicate this panel. Take some tape. Something I did off camera was to cut this ring here. The dimensions that I got were not right, so I had to make a modification and cut another one. But basically, I used this router and I used this circle jig here. And let's say, for instance, let's say this one, I needed a 16 1/4 hole. I find 16 and I go up to 1/4. And I drill a hole in the piece of material that I want to cut out, and I stick this down in there, and then when I plunge the router and go around in a circle, it cuts a hole at that diameter. So I did that off camera. And it would not go large enough to do the outside diameter, so I just did a rough cut of it. It's not going to matter. These aren't going to really be used for anything other than for this inside circle here. So what I'm going to do, I've taped this piece to another piece, and I'm going to duplicate this. That way I have two that I can actually mount onto my baffle and get those in the correct position and cut those. So right now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my flush trim bit and I'm going to trim this out on the inside to make it perfect here, and then do the same thing on the outside. So now I've got two rings of the same identical size. And you can only use this tape once. You don't want to try to reuse this stuff because it will not stick if you try to use it a second time. taken my 2 trim rings and put them onto the baffle. And what I'm going to do, these are taped on here. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm just going to come in with my router, my flush trim bit, and I'm going to trim this out. That way I'll have my circles in my baffle, and then I'll actually take this baffle and attach it to the other baffle and cut it out on that one as well. With the correct size holes cut out for the woofers, and I'm going to transfer this onto the other piece. This is where I'm at so far. I've got the bolts going in through the frame, so it's bolted in. So I got the nuts in the back holding in. There's a few more that I need to get, but that's pretty much how that's going to be.